Okay, so what are you saying, people, and welcome back to your favorite YouTube channel. So today, guys, like always, another weekly analysis for you. On the screen of the pairs we'll be analyzing today, but make sure you do stay to the end of the video because I do have a bonus pair in store. But first, guys, we'll go through my trades of the week first and any trades I had from last week carrying over to this week. So we'll go through those quickly and then we'll get into the analysis. So if there's a particular pair you are interested in, feel free to skip ahead on the timestamps down below. But yeah, I had two positions coming in from last week, Euro Pound shorts and Pound USD shorts. So we'll go over those quickly. So yeah, Euro Pound ended up in a small win. Price came back and hit my entry at break even. Took some partials coming into this level here because it's the most logical place where, you know, if price was going to go against me, this was the most logical place price was going to do that. So that's why that was my first TP. Secured some partials, went break even, and then the market found support there and took me out of the trade. So that one ended up in the small win. And Pound USD, that one dumped into my level quite nicely, hitting into this low, completing that winning trade there. Took some partials on the way down. Price had quite a hefty pullback, but fortunately for me, dollar was quite strong after some news, and yeah, price melted into that target. So that's a nice full TP there for Pound USD. Coming into this week, I entered a long position on USD CHF. This one unfortunately didn't continue as I was expecting it to. Market found some nice resistance there at those highs, rejected it many times, and yeah, absolutely capitulated. For some reason, CHF was very strong, and obviously dollar was quite weak after NFP, so that was just a recipe for bearishness. And price fell to the downside, took me out break even. I took some partials here, and that's when I went break even. And then yeah, price continued to fall like it was crazy. So yeah, you see CHF end up in a small win. Now I took a loss on AUD CAD here. For me, looking back, I probably entered a little bit too early because the NFP was on Friday, I entered this trade on Thursday. So maybe me being a bit critical would have been, you know, be patient, wait for NFP to happen, and then enter. I say that because you can see I just got wicked out. Yeah, I'm still looking at more downside for AUD CAD. The analysis is still in play, looking at that third lower high relative to the trend line 1, 2, 3, because we've actually done quite a few lower highs and retested this structure here. So very simple, looking for the market to continue that bearish momentum. Really nice impulse to the downside, healthy correction, looking for the downside move. So I hopped in on Thursday, but yeah, maybe I should have waited for NFP on Friday and then see if there was an entry after. As you can see, I just got wicked out there. Then I got another entry signal. I wasn't actually at the charts at the time, but that would have been a very nice entry, you know, after that kind of fake out, giving a bit more confidence to the trade. But yeah, so loss on that one. USDCHF small win, Euro Pound small win, and Pound USD TP. So not too bad. But on to next week, which is actually shaping up to form some really nice opportunities off the back of NFP. Again, I love it when we see a lot of momentum, whether it's from news or whatever, because it creates opportunities. You know, as traders, we're looking to follow momentum, not particularly, you know, create our own momentum, because again, we're just, you know, small fish in a big ocean, so we're not going to really cause any waves. But if we can see a wave, you're going to hop on the back of that, and that's what I'm looking to do with some of these moves off the back of NFP. So coming into EURUSD, still bearish on EURUSD despite the momentum we had to the upside of NFP. Price again hasn't broken through any major structure. I'm always going to still be bearish or be bullish on a particular market, falling market structure until market structure breaks, and we still simply haven't had that yet. The market is still printing these lower highs to me, so I'm still looking for some more downside. Market's still printing lower lows. It did double bottom out here, so that is one slight red flag, but we're still seeing that overall structure push to the downside. And the fact that we had this big impulse, big wick to the upside, and all the market did was just simply respect that resistance, tells me that the sellers are still in play and still holding this level. I would only look to go bullish on EURUSD is if 1.06800 breaks. If this level breaks, fair enough. I do think we'll probably get some nice buys in next week above that level. But if you can maintain this resistance, I'm expecting EURUSD to head straight back down to where we came from. This big move at NFP might just be, you know, trapping a lot of traders, catching people on the wrong side, providing liquidity, you know, for the sellers to get going, because we just about pinched the highs there. So people with stop losses above here would have got taken out, and hopefully we can see the market roll back over to the downside now. I'm still looking for a push into this low here, so this still remains the target for EURUSD at 1.05. We've had this target since we broke those lows, probably actually. Started creating these lower highs, so we're still looking at a push to the downside. But again, this bias, you know, me looking for a push to 1.05 is only valid as long as we stay below this level. If we start breaking that, then we've actually got a potential reversal. We've got that bigger double bottom, some new highs. We can actually be looking at something like this. So at that point, the buys above that level would actually look pretty decent. But at the moment in time, because we already rejected level 1, so hopefully on Monday we can come up, throw some more wicks, throw some more rejection, see if we can get a good confirmation candle, stop loss above the high, and then looking for another push, either to these lows or that low there on the 4H. It's up to you where you want to put your targets. But that's the analysis for EURUSD. Consistent lower lows and lower highs still there in the market. Price still rejecting structure, so I'm still looking for that structure to continue. So waiting for confirmations around 1.06800, and then looking for a push back down to 1.05 for next week for EURUSD. Okay, so USD JPY looks like it is breaking structure to the downside. So my first outlook on USD JPY is starting to get ready for some sales. Right now, price is still rejecting a pretty key level, so we could see a bounce to the upside. I'm not too sure how far it can go. Again, like I've been saying with some of the JPY pairs, we're getting very corrective behavior. Oh, wrong tool. We're getting very corrective behavior to the upside. So this is not really a healthy bullish trend anymore. I actually am expecting the price to eventually start pushing back to the downside soon. So with USD JPY, there could be some sells at the retest of this structure. Really nice key support. As you can see, the market's rejected it many times. So around 135.825 could be a good place to sell. And I say it could be, it's just because USD JPY is kind of between a rock and a hard place right now. There's a key level here at 134.500, which might not be the best place to sell into. The market could still potentially find support here and actually start rocking to the upside. But at the same time, this is not a bad place to sell. So strong support, we broke good momentum. So on the low time frames, you might squeeze a nice short-term sell from 135.786 into that low and just take your profit and call it a day. Specifically, what I'm looking for is for the market to actually give me some lower highs for the reversal. So you've got the impulsive breaking through those lows. I'm waiting for a low high to form, whether it's at that level or slightly higher up, and then start breaking through some lows. And then I'll actually start looking for the retest of some levels like this, 134.500, and start targeting some lows here. So this is kind of what I'm looking for USD JPY, and sort of what I was talking about last week on my weekly analysis. I said I wasn't too interested in buying USD JPY anymore because, like I said, the market is quite corrective. I'm waiting for the reversal. This type of price action is not normally sustainable, so I'm expecting the market to reverse. And now we're getting the first kind of glimpses, the first kind of hints that, okay, we might actually be reversing with this strong bearish impulse to the downside. So I'm looking for some lower highs to develop first, and then when that happens, we break through some structure and get a bearish trend going. I'll be looking to go short on the retest some levels with some good confluence and targets. Could be looking at these areas here, or even these areas here. So I'll just look at the risk reward, see whichever makes sense. But 133, just below 133, and 13600 also looks pretty good. So this is the main entry I'm looking for. But on the lower time frames, I do think you guys can take advantage of some short-term sells on the retest of this support level here on the 4H, and just take a short-term short right back to where we came from into 134.500. So keep an eye out for that opportunity on the lower time frames. Could happen pretty early on in the week, Monday, Tuesday, so keep an eye out for that. But specifically for me, I'll be waiting for some more lower highs to print and see if you can catch a lower high somewhere around 134.500 for some sells. So that's my outlook going into next week for USD JPY. Okay, so over to USD CAD. So USD CAD's still pretty bullish on this one. We're still creating higher highs and higher lows. We just saw some really nice momentum here to the upside, snapping through these highs. So instantly looking for the retest of this structure to go long on the high time frames, daily, weekly. You can still see we've been a pretty long-term bullish trend here, creating higher highs and higher lows since end of May 2021, and simply looking for price to return back to the prior major highs, which is over here around 1.395. So that's the plan for USD CAD. Still looking at the buys for this one. It's getting a little bit corrective now since we had that big impulse breakout of 1.365 there. So I'm not really interested to buy and sell within here. There's a chance the market might not have a pullback and just kind of continue to correctly move up into those highs. So if you are really interested to get involved, you might have to scale down to the low time frames, wait for a break and retest of the high, and then look for some entries there. Whereas for me, I'm looking for price to come down first, retest 1.365, and from there as well start looking for my entries, take out some of these weaker lows. Got some good confluence around there, and hopefully you can see some nice rejection for some nice buy entries. So I'll be focused on 1.365. If it doesn't pull back there, it doesn't pull back there. There's still other pairs that I'm interested in getting involved with. So I'm more than happy to wait to see if that will happen. If it doesn't, then keep an eye on break and retest of that high if you're really looking to trade USD CAD, because there is a pretty high chance that we're most likely going to go and take out those highs and probably test 1.4, which is a very, very big psychological level the market could be attracted towards in the next kind of few days, maybe a couple of weeks. So yeah, USD CAD still bullish, really good structure. I'm liking the momentum where we broke through, even broke through these major highs here on the left as well. So now just waiting for a pullback to go along. Keep an eye on that break and retest of the high there at 1.385 on the lower time frames, but hopefully we can get that deeper pullback and looking for a push back to 1.395 for next week. Okay, so over to Euro Pound. So Euro Pound coming into the week was bearish, obviously had the sell. The market took me out of the trade, and since then we've had this impulse correction and now another impulse to the upside, taking out those highs. Now, I've noticed the market is still creating these higher lows. Although the structure is very, very corrective, the market is still printing these higher lows here. So I'm mainly focused on, where is it? There we go. This point here, this point here, this point, this I'm looking as a fake out. Because as again, connecting the higher lows there with the trend line, the market kind of dipped lower and then suddenly rocketed higher. So this is kind of, you know, what a textbook kind of fake out is. A dip lower, and then you see the impulsive movement in the opposite direction the market fakes out in. And now we're looking at price basically rejecting this trend line and that support level again, and kind of continue this corrective structure. Now, because it's so corrective, I'm not necessarily expecting Euro Pound to completely fly to the upside. We may only see something like this, a short-term push back into some resistance here. This was our prior swing high, or maybe slightly higher into the resistance there, since the market is rejecting that level quite well. You know, either one of those two levels, we'll call this level here because it's a bit more sensible to place your take profit. And we might even see something like this before the market may go and actually have a big rollover, because like I said, price action like this, it's not normally sustainable. We might continue, we might come back to highs. If so, you could probably leave a little bit to trickle if you want to. But again, we have to be sensible as traders. So I'm looking for a push back into this level here for Euro Pound. And maybe at best, we may even look for a push into those highs. Those highs, potentially, but I would probably be taking most of my profit at this level at least. Before maybe leaving a little bit to trickle if you go and test those highs, or maybe even take them out. So this is the setup I'm focused on for Euro Pound. We've got a really nice level of support here where we previously pushed the upside quite with good momentum. Now the market's coming to that trend line as well. So if you can see a nice little wick into that level, some more rejection, more than happy to look to go along and take advantage of a push. And again, if you want to take your profit earlier, there's some levels on the lower time frames, even this resistance here, where you can secure your profit beforehand. But looking for a rejection of 0.88200 to 0.89200 for next week for Euro Pound. Okay, so AUSD up next. So for this one, really nice break out of this range here. I was actually expecting AUSD to pull back a little bit deeper this week. Market was getting a little bit corrective and starting to consolidate, so I was expecting a deeper retracement. However, AUD was very, very weak, and then we had some dollar strength off the back of some news, which kind of created this huge move to the downside, breaking out that consolidation. But yeah, the trend's pretty healthy with AUSD. A little bit corrective early on, but we're starting to gain some momentum, as you can see here. So things are still looking good, and especially from a higher time frame perspective, in particular the weekly, really nice lower lows and lower highs. So expecting the market to push back into these lows here, potentially even further. But again, that's way into the future. We can discuss that as price gets closer. But we're looking at another major lower high forming, and simply price to come back down to the structural lows, and maybe it might form some new lows. So I'm looking at more downside into 0.62 for AUSD. So every time this starts to pull back, I'll be looking for areas of confluence, for good opportunities to get into some shorts on these pullbacks and ride the bearish trend to the downside. And that will stay my bias as long as we don't violate structure. So as long as the price doesn't break back above this consolidation, so something like this, then okay, we might actually be looking at a reversal to the upside. So as long as we don't clear the highs here, the consolidation at 0.6742 or 67500 we'll call it, I'm expecting 0.62 from this one. So right now for AUSD, we're kind of consolidating again, and again, I'm not really trying to look to get involved here. I'd rather price kind of snap back to the upside, retest that consolidation, but a lot of momentum come from it. So I'll be more than happy to look for some sell opportunities around that area. Retest the low, and again we broke through, never got the retest, so that's still a reason for the market to come up higher. Retest that level around 0.667 or was it 67? Yeah, 0.67, sorry. So if you can retest that, would be great. Targets Again, back to the lows, keep it simple. If you want to push the trade all the way down to 0.62, be my guest, but I would recommend taking most of your profit off early and just letting a little bit to trickle, because again, the market in FX especially is not straightforward. We could see some nice bullish momentum, but then suddenly something can happen. We could see a big pullback, wipes out your trade, and then price continues back down. So it's not always just smooth sailing, downwards trend to one level and back up to another level. Price, it has a lot of fluctuation, especially FX, where markets only trend around 30% of the time. So a wise idea would be just taking profit at the lows there and then waiting for the next pullback if we get it and hopping back in, and so on and so forth. So this is really the main idea I'm looking at for AUSD, a push back into the lows here. We may potentially go further, so wherever those lows kind of settle, but this is the level that I'm looking at. Retest to that range, give me the next lower high. I'm looking for a push into the lows. You probably start looking at some levels here on the left as well. But the end goal will be 0.62. So yeah, hopefully you can get a pullback into 0.67 next week for AUSD, and then expecting more downside back to lows for next week. Okay, so now over to NZD CAD. So NZD CAD this week, not much. The market's kind of consolidating at these lows here, not really moving too clean. I said coming into the week, I'm looking for sales up high around this trendline area. Market's still not quite there. But it looks like it's slowly making its way to that area. So around 0.85600 is what I'm looking for my sales for. Again, another swing to the downside. The market's making these nice major swing highs. 1, 2, looking at a third one forming, and price basically just return to the lows. May target this low, depending on the risk to reward. May just take my profit there rather than trying to push it that little bit further. Just take a profit and move on to the next trade. But this still remains my number one area of interest for NZD CAD. Good confluence at a good place. Take out some of these weaker highs in the market. Give us some liquidity up there. Test that level. If you can get a good entry confirmation, look for some entries there. Stop loss above the zone, and then probably look for a push into this level here. If I can get a 3-4R, more than happy to take my profit there rather than try and push it an extra, I don't know, 40-50 pips to that level. Just take my profit there and call it a day. But yeah, in terms of bias, still looking at shorts. I did say there might be some short-term long opportunities to trade it up into that level. Never really materialized. I think we opened around here, and actually at the start of the week we just dropped below the level. Since then the market's been quite messy, so I'll just leave NZD CAD alone until we get to that area. There potentially could be some buys in the break and retest this high, but yeah, it's quite a choppy market. I'll wait for price to get to the extremes, see what type of price action we can get in this area. And I do think there'll be a lot better opportunities around here, looking for sells. And again, you don't have to push it that far, retest that high. It's up to you how you want to trade that. But in that area as well, I'll be focused for NZD CAD, still looking for that next major lower high and a push back down to these lows for next week. Okay, so pound NZD. So this one started to push quite aggressively to the upside. I think Thursday going to Friday. Yeah, I said coming to the week looking for some sells around this level here. The market did come into that level initially early on the week. Yeah, Monday actually came to that level. Reacted quite nicely for the level, a little bit corrective. Didn't really see much momentum come from that level, which was a bit of a red flag, since we had such a really nice impulse to the downside, breaking through those lows. As I said, we're looking for some retracement, a lower high, and then a continuation. However, when we got to that level, the market was quite corrective, and we actually had the impulse in the other way, correction, and then we had an impulse in the opposite direction. So for pound NZD going into next week, I'm actually looking for more upside for this one, especially if you can take out these highs here and get a candle closure above those highs at 1.968. If we do that, then that tells me that, okay, pound NZD probably really wants to start pushing to the upside, and we can be looking at kind of a very gradual reversal, potentially back to those highs up here as well. So with pound NZD looking at pullback, don't want to be looking at longs up at those highs. This is bearish territory, one price to pull back. For us, a retest of 1.945 looks good. Was a really nice level. Market broke with good momentum, hasn't retested. So support, this level will be now resistance turn support. And if you get some good confirmations there, I do think we could probably get some good entries. Got some good confluence there as well, looking for the next higher low. So keep an eye on 1.945. Again, if the market starts to consolidate around here, I'll just leave it alone. This is where the sellers, will be looking to step into the market. And for pound NZD, since we failed to form a lower high there, it looks like these highs will be taken out as well. I would only be looking for buys in this market structure now, so shifting the buys completely. And targets, again, simple, back to highs. That'd probably be the most logical target. I'm not really seeing a logical target above around here. Potentially these highs up there, but they are pretty far. Yeah, all the way up around there, around 1.995. I think that's being a little bit greedy, trying to push the trade that far. Sensible, just take a profit at the highs here. The market's starting to reject that as resistance. Yeah, it makes a lot of sense just to take profit there and then plan the next trade. So yeah, for pound NZD, looking for a pullback for this one, retest 1.945 and looking to send it where it came from. Price may break out and go higher. If you're going to trade that, leave a little bit to trickle, but this is definitely a sensible place to take the profit. So yeah, that's the plan for pound NZD going into next week. Okay, so over to CAD Yen. So CAD Yen looks like we're going through a huge reversal here. The market's had this big consolidation for a few days. We had a really nice, lovely uptrend. I was looking for the continuation. However, coming into this week, I said the market's getting quite corrected. We're seeing signs that the market is getting quite exhausted and we could be looking at sells, and the market did roll over this week. So now I'm interested to sell this on the retest of this structure. If you can get a good correction back into that level, around 99,500, I will be looking to sell this market here. I'm looking for a push for us to come back down to these lows into 95. So for CAD Yen, we've had this really nice impulse to the downside, breaking through structure, breaking out that consolidation. Now I'm interested in the lows here. The bullish trend here looks like it was only short term, and the market looks to be heading back down to those lows. So now I just want to see a correction. There may be some shorts on the retest of this low here. Again, that's more lower time frames. We might not see that bigger pullback to retest 99,350, we'll call it, which is this level here. We might not see that bigger pullback to retest that level, but I know that's for sure where I'll be focusing for my entries to take advantage of this opportunity. And targets for me probably would be just be back down to these lows if the risk reward allows it. If not, then I may look to push the trade a little bit further. Not necessarily down here, but maybe some lows here on the left I'll look at. There's a key support level here we can target around 96,500 as well, but for most likely I'll probably be looking at 97,500 for my target. So yeah, CAD Yen, I'm really liking the reversal for this one. That bullish trend seems to have met its match. We're starting to roll over, starting to see some good downside momentum after that consolidation, and now we're just looking at the reversal. So looking at that next lower high forming around 99,250, we'll call it. It might just be a small retest of that level and then the continuation, but if we can get the retracement up there, I'll be more than happy to sell it. And targets, we've got 97,500, 96,500, and then end goal around 95 down there. So that'll be the plan for next week for CAD Yen. So over to pound USD. So pound USD had some more downside this week. The market is still quite corrective, almost consolidation to be fair. But we do have a slight, ever so slight descending channel here. So that's why it's not quite consolidation, because the market is still making lower lows and lower highs. And we're still very, very corrective. So for pound NZD, as long as we stay within this descending channel, I'm expecting more downside. I did call out some areas down here around 1.16 and some 1.15 levels where price could be looking to head towards. I'm looking at this being, a bigger reversal in the market. If I quickly go to the monthly time frame, actually no, weekly kind of it shows a little bit better. Yeah, so we've had this huge collapse for pound USD, and now I'm looking at price forming its next lower high off the back of that double top and pushing back down to some of these areas here. So bearish buys for pound NZD, bearish buys for pound USD, looking for market to continue lower. If, however, we start breaking through resistance and especially breaking through the descending channel, then I will look to change my bias completely for pound USD and start looking for longs, because at that point we may be looking for a triple top or for price of these come back and retest these highs. So if we break through the resistance here at 1.206 or 1.205, we'll call it, if we break through this, break out of the descending channel, we'll look for the retest, pullbacks, and we'll probably get some really clean trades back to the highs here at 1.24. So that is actually a really good opportunity. Obviously price hasn't broken out yet, but if we keep the momentum going into next week and we break out, that looks like a really good buy opportunity. However, for now, I'm still bearish bias because the structure has not broken yet. Market's still making lower lows and lower highs, as we can evidently see. So I'm still focused on this opportunity. In fact, on Monday, if the market can start throwing some more wicks to the upside and give me a good entry, I'll hop into the trade early next week, looking for a push down to these lows. And if that's successful, maybe a second target there, or might leave some small positions to trickle down to those lows. So for now, for pound USD, still focused on the shorts because the structure is still intact. We're still making lower lows and lower highs, as we can see here. So still looking to continue this to the downside. If we break through, that's when I'll change my bias, look for the buys, and a push back to 1.245. So two really good opportunities there for pound USD, both sells and buys. Just waiting for structure to dictate where we go, and then capitalize on that opportunity. So that's the plan for next week for pound USD. Okay, so over to pound CAD. So pound CAD ripped to the upside from Wednesday all the way to the end of the week on Friday, clearing out some key highs. I was looking for pound CAD to continue its kind of wedge pattern the market has been forming on the 4H daily time frame. As you can see, equal lows there, we're forming these lower highs and simply looking for the market to come back into this level. However, the market started to create a lot of support around here. So I said early in the week, or maybe in my last weekly analysis, shorts do look good, back into the resistance here, even better back into this high here, and looking for a move back down to 1.625. However, the market just ripped through that, no real entry confirmation or sign of rejection at these levels. The market just ripped straight through and just kept going like it was no tomorrow. So now that pound CAD has broken impulsively out this wedge pattern, which is what we want to see, not really a half-hearted breakout. Those sometimes normally catch people on the wrong side, especially when it's quite corrective, normally fake outs. But now we've had this really big impulse up. As long as we can get some correction back down, maybe a retest of this high, I do think buys will be very, very good next week for pound CAD. If we get a scenario where price kind of impulsively comes back down, then this potentially could be just a big fake out. We've had something similar on pound NZD. If I should quickly go over to pound NZD just to show you guys what I'm talking about. Pound NZD, so we had this descending channel here. This was the really strong breakout to the upside. I remember I was looking for the correction, for the continuation. However, we had an impulse straight back down again. So this is a very big textbook, sort of fake out, impulse up, impulse down. And since then we had the retest of the trend line and the market actually sell off again. So pound CAD could be doing something like that. Obviously, there's no way of knowing. Right now the market could impulse back down again. If it does that, then once we get back inside the pattern, we'll be expecting price to retest some structure, maybe that resistance there, and then sell off again. So keep in mind that that situation, because that could materialize. But at the moment, we've got a really strong impulse. The market's been creating some higher highs and higher lows here. So all we're looking at doing is just following that momentum. So if you can get a nice healthy correction, retest this level here around 1.65, we'll call it. We'll look for some longs and keep it simple back to this high here. It's where the market formed that previous high, rejected it again. So there's a good chance we'll probably see some type of rejection on there on the third time. Could break through and could possibly push to those highs there on the left. But again, if you can get 1 to 3, 1 to 4 into that level, no need to really try and push it and be too greedy. Take your profit there. Maybe if you want to, you can leave a little bit to run. But it makes sense for a push into 1.67 as your target. So that's the plan for pound CAD, looking to catch that next higher low on the retest of that level. If we start impulsing back down, we know what's happening, fake out, we'll look for the sells later on. But at the moment in time, this is what we're looking at, 1.65 to 1.67 next week. Okay, so pound yen. So pound yen this week, we're looking for more upside. Price was coming into this area here, looking for the next higher low. Price did sort of react with our level that I gave out at the start of the week, kind of consolidating, kind of dipped below, so that could have faked out some people. Then got back above that level, big push to the upside. However, the market came straight back down. So again, pound yen's getting very, very corrective. This is not a healthy trend anymore. Price was seeing some really good momentum previously, so that's why I was quite interested in long in pound yen. However, we've had this kind of a very, very long exaggerated pullback with this corrective structure. We've had a nice impulse, but then we have impulse back down again. So this is telling me that pound yen is starting to topple out and could be looking to roll over. And this is kind of illustrated as well on the daily chart with these exaggerated wicks to the upside as well, and even the weekly chart as well with this big wick here on the prior week. So it's not looking too good for pound yen buys, and it starts to look like we could be looking to reverse back down again. So I'm waiting for price to start taking out some lows here, start giving me some lower lows. I'll look to get involved in that third lower high. Like I always say, when I am looking to go counter trend, I'm always looking for the third lower high at least before I start getting onto my sells. I've got the first one here, potentially second. It's not confirmed yet because we haven't actually taken out those lows. But if we do, then I'll look on the third, and that's when I'll start looking for my entries. Maybe I retest some structure, pull back, maybe get some confluence, catching that third lower high there. So that's kind of what I'm looking at for pound yen. Let me draw that again a little bit cleaner. So that's kind of what I'm looking at for pound yen. I'm not interested in the buys anymore, especially after this strong impulse up and impulse back down. If this was an impulse and the market starts to correct, then that'll be a good sign, or even impulsively break through this level here. That will also be a good sign as well. The fact that we just turned, on a dime on that level is not a good sign at all. And this is telling me that, okay, this bullish structure is starting to exhaust and we could be looking to tumble back down again. So yes, the structure technically hasn't broken yet. There's still a higher low which gave us our drive, but I can tell just from looking at the structure that the market most likely will come back down. I could be wrong, but I know that I'm waiting for good setup. So if this can start breaking lower, give me some nice impulsive break, I'll be more than happy to catch the retest. Looking to catch that third lower high there, and we've got some good targets going lower, back to this support level, even back to these lows here as well. If we're going to push it a little bit further. So keep an eye for 156 and also 157, 500 for some target for the sales. But again, it's crucial that we do break through the lows first before I even look to sell pound yen. So yeah, that's the plan for pound yen. Looking at more downside this week. Need to break through the lows first at 162. And then once that's happened, we can start looking for our pullbacks, that third lower high, and catch the shorts to the downside. Okay, so gold, onto gold. So we're looking at buys coming into the week. It didn't quite materialize how I expected it to. I was looking for the inverse head and shoulder, left, the head, and looking for the right. However, the market broke through that level there, started to consolidate underneath it. And I wasn't really interested in buying the market anymore. With this strong impulse, I was looking for the correction for price to continue down. However, on NFP, market impulsed up and started breaking through the highs again. The key level at 1810, 1800 on the weekly chart is holding, which you started pointing out from a while ago. And the market's still holding that level, which is actually, I was quite surprised. I thought the market was going to break through. But now the market held it and actually creates some new highs there. We can see the buys are back on for gold and actually looking very, very interesting going into next week. So this is my number one place for buys. You potentially could see a retest of the high here. It's a little bit too shallow for me to consider any entries there for myself. But even the lower time frames, we could see a quick retest of 1855 in the continuation. But I'm looking at a deeper retracement back to around 0.618. So yeah, back to around 0.618. If we start to retrace from there, we could potentially push up a little bit further. Maybe it might even be 0.786, but that's what I'm looking for. My entries got a lot more confluence there. It's a good level. We consolidated. A lot of momentum came from that area, and all we're looking for is to catch that next higher low. We've got first low, next low, looking at the third one, and the targets for the trade will be simply just back to wherever we retrace from. If we retrace from this level here, this will be the target. If we push up a little bit higher, market open and then roll over, then yeah, that will be the target. So wherever we start to retrace from will be the target. For now, we're just going to focus on 1868 as the target. But yeah, looking at buys for next week for gold, really nice impulse momentum. All this bearish momentum came to nothing. Prices formed a higher low and started rocketing to the upside, creating some new highs. So looking for a correction back down to around 1835. There may be a smaller retest of this level. Like I said, I'm not really interested, but on the lower time frames, might be able to squeeze a few pips from that. I'll be focused around 1835 and looking to take it back to highs around 1867 for next week. Okay, so over to Bitcoin, which actually dumped to the downside quite aggressively this week. We were looking for a push to the upside coming into the week at this support level. Didn't really hold. The market was kind of throwing some wicks, consolidating all over the place. Didn't really see any momentum come back through, so the entries were never good anyway. But yeah, the market just rolled over very, very aggressively, taking out these lows here, which I said if the market does go and take out those lows, we could end up seeing a lot more downside for Bitcoin now. So again, next logical target, we're looking at 18K, or yeah, 18,100. And then obviously we've got the lows down here, but we are looking at some type of correction, retest the prior low, and from there, I do think we can have some really nice sells. So for Bitcoin, bears are looking really, really good here. A retest of 21,600 looks really good. Or even if you take this across here into that consolidation, if you come up a little bit higher, that area will look good as well. So all I can see is downside here for Bitcoin. I was expecting price to eventually roll over, but I thought we can potentially have one more push to the upside, maybe form a lower high and then roll over. But yeah, Bitcoin was just far too bearish to see that. And yeah, broke through some structure, broke through the support level, the trend line, and most importantly, that price from the lows. So all I can see is more downside here for Bitcoin. Hopefully we can get a pullback. Could be some good entries around 21,500 or even that consolidation at 22,400. But yeah, next logical targets, we're looking at 18,100, 18K, and then the lows where Bitcoin shot up from. So that'll be the plan for Bitcoin for next week and probably for the next few weeks, however long this takes to play out. So yeah, keep an eye on that for Bitcoin. And last but not least, we've got our bonus pair, which is US30. So back to the indices. So US30 was actually the bonus pair maybe 2 weeks ago, maybe 3 weeks ago. We're looking at some sells for this one, and price reacted quite well with the levels we were talking about. I gave out a couple levels. Originally this was one of them, 33,200. This was the second one, 33,600. The market did react briefly with that level, broke through, tested the second level, which was the better level, had much more confluence around that area, had a really good fib level as well from the high to the low. Came to the 50, I believe. Yeah, it reacted with the 50, nice quick rejection, and since then the market collapsed to the downside. So for US30, we are looking at price coming all the way back down to these lows. I've been talking about this higher time frame structure for US30. You can see the consistent lower highs the market's been printing. We tried to break through these highs here on multiple attempts, 1, 2, 3, 4. Price really tried to rally through this price lower high, but failed evidently, and all that kind of corrected price actions kind of build up in that consolidation. Now we're seeing that momentum kind of spill over to the downside, taking out some key lows. So for US30, we're looking at 28,500 down to these lows. So all we're looking at is just pullbacks. All we're looking at is pullbacks and just some really clean, simple trading. We're seeing good momentum, a good trend starting to form. All we're looking for is price to pull back to areas of value, areas of confluence, wait for confirmations, and then shorting it back down again, keeping it very, very simple. So two areas that jump out at me, this level being one, and also the high here as well. If I whip out the Fibonacci from the low to the high, again, I'm just expecting this to be the low. Price could potentially push a little bit further and then get the pullback. So if this is the low here, this is how the fib is looking. We've got the 50% just above this level here. We might spike slightly higher to get into the 50 and then roll over. So keep an eye on 32,600 for some shorts. And also likewise keep an eye on 33K, which is testing that 0.618 fib there as well, and obviously some nice supply, that resistance before we had that kind of second dump to the downside. So both those levels look just as good. All we want to see really for US30, some pullbacks to some areas. These look good. Monitor price action. I do think you can get some really nice entries. As for targets, again, it just depends what you're looking for. If you're looking for a really nice day trade or intra-week trade, a push to these lows makes a lot of sense. If you're really trying to maximize your gains, you could be onto something here. The high time frames look good. So you potentially could leave, maybe 50%, take 50% at the lows, leave 50% to run. Obviously, you run the risk of price eventually coming back and taking out the trade. But if it works out, you could be looking at a very, very healthy risk to reward all the way back down to those lows. If I was going to trade it, because again, I don't really trade indices, but if I did, I'll probably just look for push to the lows there and maybe leave 10, 20% to run to the lows here, because there's a good chance we'll get to those lows, but I'm not willing to risk the whole trade. I want to take my profits, realize those gains, and then leave small amount to trickle, which could actually build up. Because again, if I drag this all the way down, we're looking at like 13, 14 R, 10, 20% of that can really build up to a healthy R. So yeah, that's the plan for US30. Keep an eye on those two levels, 32,500, 32,800 for some pullbacks into, looking for price to come into those lows. And then eventually we're looking at 29, 28,500 down there. So yeah, guys, that's the bonus pair for this week, and that's the analysis going into next week. If you are enjoying the content, guys, please be sure to leave a like on the video. It does really help out the videos and the channel, and subscribe to keep yourself in the loop. And also the bell as well, don't miss out on any videos or streams in the future. But thank you so much for watching the video, guys. If you made it to the end, thank you for that as well, because I realize it is a very, very long video. So if you do make it to the end, let me know in the comments down below. Actually, I'm interested to find out. But yeah, anyway, thank you so much for watching the video, guys, and take care. I'll see you all next week.